Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I don't know what time it will be when you'll be listening to this, but right now it's evening. So good evening, everyone. Hi. I thought long and hard before recording this because there's something I want to talk about, but I wanted to write it out the way I always do for everything else. But then I decided it would be too long, and we are in a part of the world where it's easier to listen than it is to read. So I chose to record this instead. And I hope I have your attention until the very end. I don't know how it works in other parts of the world, but if you're Nigerian like me, or you live in Nigeria the way I do, then this is something you must have seen once, twice, or maybe even more often than you'd like. You hear the sound of someone being beaten. Oftentimes, that sound is being accompanied by a sound of a child screaming, begging, and hoping that somebody intervenes. So you step outside from your room, from your house, from anywhere basically. You step outside to see what's going on, and you are met with a spectacle. There's somebody, a man, a woman, or even a group of people. Some of them are big, some of them are small. Some are slim, some are bulky and very muscular. And whoever it is, whoever they are beating a child. And the age of that child varies. Sometimes the child is less than 3, sometimes less than 1. Other times the child is between 3 and 10. Sometimes 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There are cases where the child, in quotation, is 17, 18, 19, sometimes 20 and above. But because they still live under their parents' roof, or because they are not married, they're still considered children. I mean, a child is always a child. But there are situations that you have to ask yourself, has this child not transitioned into an adult? But that's not why I'm here. So you see this person being beaten, this child, I mean, and the person who is beaten. And then you look at the item being used to beat. It's never the same everywhere. In one place or at one time, it's a stick. In another place, another time, it's a whip, koboko, as we call it. Sometimes it's wire that is twisted together, or wire that has been freshly cut. And the more the child is beaten, the more the wire unravels. Sometimes it's broom. Sometimes it's something else. A pot. Yes, a pot. A pan. A turning stick. A rolling pin. Shoes. Regardless of whether or not it's a heeled shoe or a flat shoe. A briefcase. Yes, a briefcase. And so many other things that you cannot even start to imagine. But it happens. And you watch as people gather. And the reactions are mixed. Some continue to instigate the person who is beaten and encourage them, telling them that yes, that child deserves it. That is the only way the child is going to learn. That the child needs to be disciplined. That they should even beat the child more. Continue. And then there are those who ask, do you want to kill this child? Whatever the child did, or whatever the child has done, does it warrant this behavior? And do you know what's funny? How the people who encourage this beating turn to that person or those people and ask them, is he your child? Why are you trying to undermine the authority of the person that is giving out punishment? Don't you know that discipline is necessary for a child? Don't you know that it takes a society or a village to raise a child? Do you have children of your own? So because you raise your children with soft parenting, you think everybody else should do it? They ask all sorts of questions. Meanwhile, that child is still being beaten. And then you start to see it. Whip marks, bruises, blood. And before you know it, the skin is tearing open. The child is still begging, still crying, still screaming, apologizing over and over again. And if somebody doesn't intervene, it gets worse. An eye is struck, an ear is hit, a limb is bent, a vital organ is struck. Or sometimes there's a very, very big gash, mostly in the head. And then, if intervention still doesn't come, the child faints. There was a time that a child started to convulse. Or when the bleeding becomes unbearable and someone starts to shout, this child is going to die, that's when everybody starts panicking. It's no longer about, oh, it's discipline. That child should be beaten. They deserve it. It's now about who has a car, who has a bike, who even has a keke, or who can run. This child needs to get to the hospital. Suddenly, the person who is beaten is now shouting for help, for someone, anyone, anything at all to intervene and save their child. Suddenly, the group of people that were so quick to shout, it takes a society to raise a child, run. Because no one wants to be the one that bears the responsibility of bad news. No one wants to be pointed out and said, oh, that is the person that led to the death of that other person. So they run. And the child is taken to the hospital. If they are lucky, they survive. Sometimes with scars that never heal or issues that they cannot fix. A limp. An arm that is always going to be turned at an unnatural angle. A scar that is never going to fade. Bruises that run deep, deep, deep under the skin. Emotional scars, mental scars, and walls that they would erect for the rest of their lives. And if they are not lucky, and their time is up, that child goes, never to return. And then what happens? The same society that was supposed to raise the child, they come out one after the other to console grieving and screaming parents. To tell them, sorry, do, bele, or if you are Esako like me, they tell you ese. In Hausa, I learned this ki hakuri. They tell you, that's what God wanted. Alayasa. I'm not saying that that's not what God had not ordained. But why are you suddenly changing your mouth? As if you were not the same person who was shouting, screaming that that child should still be beaten. The parents who were so quick to be grateful that people are backing them and their way of meting out discipline are now seeking help, begging for their children to come back, or for the ones that are alive to look at them the way they used to look at them before on good days. And suddenly, the people who try to intervene are now the ones that make sense. And you start to hear things like, oh, how I wish I had listened to so and so. How I wish I had taken the words of so and so to heart. We wouldn't be here. And just like that, those same people that told you society is the one that raises the child, spare the rod and you would spoil the child, are quick to move on, and you are left to grieve, to carry pain that may never go away. Now, don't get me wrong. I acknowledge the fact that children can be stubborn and that sometimes soft parenting is not enough. I acknowledge the fact that it takes a village, a society to raise a child, because we all have roles that we play. I acknowledge the fact that parents have authority over their children and their families. I acknowledge all of that. But let's tell ourselves the truth. And let's call a spade a spade. We're quick to remind ourselves of how sparing the rod spoils the child, and of how we all have a responsibility to carry out in raising a child. But we are also quick to ignore the fact that the same way a society raises a child is the same way a society can kill a child. We are quick to say it's discipline, it's necessary. But we are also quick to turn a blind eye to the line that differentiates discipline from abuse. And years of enabling this has blurred the line so much that we barely even see it these days, unless you are very intentional about being different. Like I said, I don't know how it works in other parts of the world, but this is Nigeria. This happens more often than you would think. We encourage all of this. And then tomorrow, when the child wants nothing more to do with the family or society, we are quick to say, oh, that child is wicked. May we never have children like that. But what did you do? Why don't you say it? Why don't you speak? We talk about discipline as if discipline must be measured by how many bruises you have or how much ordeal you suffered. We hear people tell parents that are mercilessly abusing their children that they should continue, that when they were younger, they went through much worse. And it saved them. It saved you. But didn't it also ruin a part of you? So must you ruin that child too? Yes, there are times for spanking. But must every spank lead to blood? Must every spank leave a mark? Must we always do this? Haba. Must we always remind ourselves that, oh, we have to. This is necessary. And then be hypocritical when things start to go wrong? Why are we quick to tell people to pick up the rod, pick up the whip, pick up the stick? But we're also so quick to deny responsibility, to deny involvement. We did not do it. It wasn't me. Oh, I did not do it. I did not see such a thing, but you did. Why are you lying? You did. Or the parent that would come tomorrow and tell you, I don't know what happened to my daughter or my son. They don't talk to me anymore. They don't relate with me anymore. If I enter the house, they go to their rooms. What were you expecting? Were you expecting them, after enduring years and years of suffering and pain, that they would come to you with open arms when you don't make them feel safe? What were you expecting? To the parents that lost or lose their children, they come tomorrow and tell you how they regret what they did. So why did you not change? Why did you have to start reflecting when it was already too late? Like I said, I am not undermining the importance of discipline. Nor am I undermining anybody's authority or the role that society plays in bringing a child to what it will be tomorrow. But let's have all these conversations. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's tell ourselves the truth. So that the next time you are quick to raise your voice during abuse, cloaked as discipline, the next time you are quick to say, it is discipline, or listen to us, we know what is good for your child. After all, it's society that would raise this child. Be quick to remind yourself that if something goes wrong, you are responsible as well. And that just as quick or just as important as it is for a society to raise a child, it's just as quick and just as important and just as possible for that society to kill that child. So I hope we can do better. As parents, as siblings, as mere neighbors, or even as strangers. You may never know. That case you intervene in, you might just be what saves that child's life, or who saves that child's life, rather. So, like I said, I hope you always remember, it takes a society to raise a child, and it also takes that same society to kill a child. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.